Hi there, happy hump day. I hope you're having a fabulous week. When you think about it, much of what we do at work requires us to collaborate, engage with other people. There's not a lot that we get done alone, particularly if we're trying to change something. And that then means that our ability to get stuff done, to make progress, is hugely impacted by our ability to engage, to connect, and to inspire people to change in a certain way, to buy into whatever it is that we are trying to make happen at work. So when you're thinking about how you work successfully with others, it's imperative that you know their position and their perspective on what it is that you're trying to change. Otherwise, it's really easy to make assumptions about their perspective, their position, and their agenda on the issue. And you need to understand what's influencing them, where their perspective is coming from, so that you can engage effectively with them. And so this means that you have to take time to understand each stakeholder individually. And that starts with firstly understanding what's their role with respect to what it is that you're trying to change. You can think of it like this. Are they the engineer? Are they the ones who are helping to design and to make the change happen? Or are they part of the work crew where they're helping make the change happen by the skills that they're contributing to this piece of work? Or are they just playing the role of bystander? So they're watching the change happen, but they're not actively engaged in any way. Or are they effectively acting as a roadblock? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop it, trying to stop the progress and change from happening. You'll often find that stakeholders will take on one of those types of roles. If they're actively supporting the change, working to make it happen, they're going to be backing decisions, hopefully providing resources and also good input into the change. But maybe they're just happy to support the change, but only if they're enlisted, only if they're directly engaged and also their needs and their agenda is met as part of that process. They could also just be ambivalent. Maybe the change is something that isn't going to be directly impacting them or impacting their team. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need to engage with them, but perhaps you don't need to engage with them at the same pace or frequency or level of intensity. It's also important to understand what's the position that this stakeholder has in the organisation. Are they a decision maker? And by that I mean, do they get the power, the authority to say yes or no? Can they stop you? Or are they a recommender? Are they the type of person who is in a role where they influence other people? They're influencing the decision makers. People who are in that type of position hold enormous power. And it can be easy in stakeholder discussions to just focus on the decision makers. But if you're not focusing on the people who are also influencing those decision makers, you're missing a really important piece of the puzzle, because they will play a part in helping to determine whether what you're working on gets progressed quickly or not, or even gets stopped. And then lastly, there'll be some people who don't play a role in the decision maker or influencing, but they're a key person because they hold important information, data. They're people that you'll want to engage with because they're going to be able to provide really useful input, insights, and advice to be able to help you progress and progress well. And lastly, look at the level of personal impact that the change that you're suggesting is going to have on the individual stakeholder. Now, we love to think that people are impartial and we love to think that people make decisions on facts alone, but we know they don't. Decision making is so often influenced by emotional factors, by how is this change going to affect me personally? How's it going to affect my status in the organisation, my level of authority, the number of people that I've got working for me, my ability to do my job and do it well? There's a whole raft of factors that are about the person, the individual, that are going to impact how they make a decision and when they make that decision. So it's important when you're looking at your stakeholder list that you really understand each person's agenda, what the change is going to mean for them on a personal level, and then understand how you need to address that. So when you're doing all of this, what you're trying to do is get a total picture. Here are all the stakeholders. Here's their level of ability to influence and impact the progress that I need to make. Here's their position that they're likely to take. These are the factors that are influencing how they make that decision. And when you're doing all of this, as I've always said before, if you've watched many of these Happy Hump Days, when it comes to thinking about stakeholders, your relationships with stakeholders, it's always important to take a long-term view. Relationships, stakeholders at work, they constantly change. Someone who you might categorize as of low importance in terms of the project that you're working on at this point in time can very quickly flip around and become someone that becomes a very important stakeholder. So never burn bridges. Think long term, not short term. Take care, and I'll see you next week.